How to discover what's true. This is the title of a video that shows up on the YouTube channel actualize.org, run by a guy by the name of Leo Gura. And this video is not about giving you a particular truth, but rather it's about the criterion, or rather the criteria that we should follow in order to determine what's true. And he goes over several criteria that we might want to consider. One criteria, which is the most naive one, is the one that the truth is the one, is the set of beliefs that was served to me by my own culture. So, based on the fact that I was born into a particular culture, in a particular country, in a particular age, the blind luck that got me to be born in that particular culture gave me the truth. But obviously this is the most naive and foolish way to go about this inquiry. Actually, this is not an inquiry at all. This is just a passive acceptance of anything that our culture indoctrinated us into. Then there is a little bit more nuanced and advanced way, which is the idea of dismissing everything that sounds outlandish, far-fetched, hocus pocus, airy-fairy, girly-fluffy, loosey-goosey, all the spiritual stuff basically. But again, how do we know what's obvious? How do we know what's rational or what's irrational? How do we know what's outlandish or not? How do we know what's far-fetched or not? The only way we could dismiss something as being far-fetched is if we had the time and the opportunity to scour every single corner of the universe, every possible dimension of the universe, and exhaust every possible avenue of inquiry. Only then, only after scouring every single corner of the universe, and only after exhausting every possible avenue of inquiry, could we perhaps conclude in a scientific manner that certain things that we would obviously label as far-fetched are really outlandish, hocus pocus, girly-fluffy and loosey-goosey, no? But no one of us has ever scoured the entire universe. We barely scour our bedroom. And what if, as Leo Gura says, we discovered that there is a space kangaroo living under our bed? We may say there is no such thing as space kangaroos creating the universe, but then we grab a flashlight, we look under our bed and we discover there is a space kangaroo. So we cannot dismiss anything unless we scour, unless we investigate, unless we search. And way too many people are too dismissive of things without ever even actually bothering to look up the meaning of such words as outlandish, far-fetched, irrational in a dictionary. They don't even look at the meaning of these words in a dictionary. They use these words very casually. And so they make a lot of blunders in their investigation. But then another question arises, and that is, we said earlier that we should explore every possible avenue of inquiry. But which out of the many avenues of inquiry should we explore? Should we explore science? Should we explore religion? Should we explore witchcraft? Should we explore voodoo? Should we mix various chemicals in a jar? Should we go through the bushes and pick through the bushes, observing the chimpanzees doing their chimp stuff? Should we run a sociological experiment on a bunch of people? there are countless avenues of inquiry, and who is to say which out of the many avenues of inquiry is the correct one? Because if we ask a professor of science, he will tell us that science is the correct method. If we ask a witch, the witch will tell us that witchcraft is the correct method. Depending on who we ask, we get a different answer. And we cannot even ask ourselves, because asking ourselves already implies that we know the answer. So why would we even ask if we knew the answer? And so it is difficult to establish which avenue of inquiry is the correct one, is the one that will get us to the truth. And so another question that arises is, so given that there is no certainty about which avenue of inquiry we should follow, is there anything at all which is even more fundamental than any of these avenues? Is there anything that is more fundamental than science, than religion, than witchcraft, than voodoo? And if we think a little harder, we come to the conclusion that there is such a thing, and that thing is our sense of being alive, because if we didn't have a sense of being alive, if we were not alive at all, there would be no science, there would be no religion, there would be no voodoo, there would be no witchcraft, there would be no sociology, there would be no nothing. So it really seems like everything boils down to our feeling of being alive as more primordial than anything else. But again, how can we rely on a feeling? How can we rely on a perception? Because our perceptions can be very skewed. We could, for example, be in a desert and see a mirage. We could wear blurred eyeglasses and see blurred objects. We could go underwater and see distorted objects. So even our perceptions can be very skewed. So what do we rely on? And then the question is, what is the thing that we are after? We are after something which is called reality. We are after an it. What is this it? Is it a giant ball of expanding and contracting stars and galaxies that expand, then they contract and explode, and that they expand again, that they contract again? But again, is there an it, or is there an I that is conscious that there is an it? Are there both an it and an I? And what is the relationship between the it and the I? Are the it and the I separate things, or are they one and the same? Which came first, the it or the I? Or did they come together? So these are extremely puzzling questions, and how do we figure them out? It almost seems impossible, it almost seems hopeless. And given the fact that these questions seem hopeless, a lot of people discount this very inquiry by saying that this is just a word game. But if all of this is a word game, what prevents us from saying that our entire life is a word game? Because we seem to take our life very, very seriously. No? If our child dies of cancer, we don't treat it as a word game, but we treat the inquiry about the nature of reality as a word game. So how can we say that getting to know what the nature of reality is a word game, and reality itself is a serious thing, it's not a word game? I mean, if asking ourselves what's the point of life, if we label it as a word game, even our everyday mundane stuff that we take so seriously should be labeled as a war game, but we don't label these things as a war game. So this investigation is way more serious than we imagine. So this is more or less the gist of what I have understood, at least from this video, how to discover what's true. But I encourage you to watch the original video on actualize.org, because mine is just a short summary, a short interpretation of mine. I might have misunderstood certain ideas that the guy is sharing on his official channel, so watch the original video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.